Captain Veltar Kess stood on the bridge of the Nexus Prime and looked at the blue planet below. His yellow eyes showed no interest. This was just another job. Another world to check and mark as not ready in the Council's big book of planets. "Sir, the scans are done," said Survey Chief Morden Thresh. His crystal body made soft ringing sounds as he moved. "This planet is still very primitive," Veltar nodded. He had seen hundreds of worlds like this one. The beings down there were always the same. They fought each other. They used simple weapons. They could barely leave their own planet. "What do they call themselves?" he asked. "Humans," Mordan replied. "They live on a world they call Earth. The atmosphere is mostly oxygen and nitrogen. Water covers most of the surface. About 7 billion of them live there." 7 billion? Veltar was surprised. "That many? And they have not killed each other yet?" "They are trying very hard to do so," Mordan said with what might have been a laugh. "Our scans show they have nuclear weapons. Thousands of them. They point these weapons at each other." Dr. Yoon Dae-ho sat quietly in the corner of the bridge. He was one of only 3 humans who had ever been allowed on a Council ship. The Council had taken him from Earth 20 years ago to study his species. They wanted to understand humans better before making contact. But 20 years of study had only made the Council think humans were more primitive than before. Dae-ho listened as the alien beings talked about his homeworld. He said nothing. The Council thought he was just a simple scientist who was grateful to see the galaxy. They did not know that he sent reports back to Earth every day. They did not know that Earth was listening to every word they said. "Show me their weapons," Veltar ordered. The main screen lit up with images from Earth. Cities appeared and disappeared as the ship's computers scanned the planet. Dae-ho saw his home city of Seoul. It looked small and dirty compared to the clean cities of the Council worlds. "Here," Morden pointed at the screen. "These are their most powerful weapons. Nuclear missiles. They can destroy whole cities." Veltar looked at the images and shook his head. "That is all? These weapons can barely crack a planet's surface. My people had better weapons 10,000 years ago." "The humans think these are very powerful," Morden said. "They are very proud of them. They also have what they call spaceships." More images appeared, rockets launching from Earth, small space stations orbiting the planet, humans walking on their moon. "Look at this," Morden laughed. "They need huge rockets just to escape their planet's gravity. And these ships cannot go faster than light. It takes them months to reach their own moon." "Pathetic," said another voice. Ambassador Nal Seth had joined them on the bridge. He was tall and thin with blue skin and large eyes. "I have seen children's toys that are more advanced than their spaceships." Dae-ho watched the aliens make fun of his people. He wanted to speak up. He wanted to tell them they were wrong. But he stayed quiet. His mission was to watch and listen. "Nothing more. What about their society?" Veltar asked. "They are divided into many groups," Mordan explained. "These groups fight each other constantly. They have wars over land, over resources, over ideas. They cannot agree on anything." "Do they have a single government?" "No, sir, they have many governments. Some are friendly to each other. Some are enemies. They spend most of their time and energy fighting instead of working together." Veltar turned away from the screen. "This is what we expected. Another failed species. They will probably destroy themselves within the next few hundred years." "What should we put in the report?" Morden asked. "Mark them for review in 1,000 years. If they survive that long, we will check on them again. If not..." Veltar made a gesture that meant not our problem. Dae-ho felt angry but kept his face calm. These beings thought they were so much better than humans. They had faster ships and better weapons. They had lived for thousands of years while humans had only been in space for a few decades, but they were missing something important. They did not understand what humans really were. "Sir," called out the ship's pilot, "we are picking up some strange readings from the planet's satellite." "Satellite?" Veltar asked. "You mean their moon?" "Yes, sir. There are energy readings coming from the far side. Very faint, but they are there." Mordan checked his instruments. "That is odd. Our scans showed the moon was empty except for some old landing sites." "Maybe their instruments are broken," Ambassador Nalzeth suggested. "These primitive beings make many mistakes." But the pilot was looking more closely at his readings. "Sir, the energy signature is getting stronger." "Much stronger." Veltar walked over to look at the pilot's screen. "What kind of energy?" "I am not sure, sir. It is unlike anything in our database. The readings are strange." Daeho felt his heart beating faster. He knew what was happening. Earth had been waiting for this moment for years. The time had come, sir, the pilot called out loudly. Something is coming around the moon. On the main screen, they could see Earth's moon. It looked peaceful and empty as always. But then something appeared from behind it. At first it was just a small dot. Then it got bigger. Much bigger. What is that? Veltar demanded. The object was clearly a ship. But it was not like the small rockets they had seen launching from Earth. This ship was huge and sleek. It moved smoothly through space without any visible engines or exhaust. Sir, that ship is using faster-than-light technology, the pilot said in a shocked voice. That is impossible, Ambassador Nalseth said. These humans barely know how to leave their planet. But the ship was there, moving toward them at incredible speed. And it was slowing down in a way that should have been impossible for any species that had only recently discovered spaceflight. Are we in danger? Veltar asked. I do not think so, sir. The ship is not showing any weapons. It is sending out a signal. What does the signal say? The communications officer, a being with 6 arms and purple skin, worked quickly at her station. The message is in the human language called English. It says, "Welcome to the Sol system. We request permission to dock and establish formal diplomatic contact." Veltar looked around the bridge. All of his officers looked confused and worried. This was not supposed to happen. Primitive species did not build faster-than-light ships. They did not make formal diplomatic requests. They were supposed to be afraid and grateful when the council found them. Sir, Mordan said quietly, our scans of this ship show technology we do not recognize. Some of it appears to be more advanced than our own. Daeho smiled to himself but kept his face serious. He had known this day would come. Earth had been preparing for it for a very long time. The council thought they were watching a primitive world, but Earth had been watching them right back. Send a reply, Veltar ordered. Tell them we accept their request. As the human ship moved closer, Daeho could see the name painted on its side. Sol's Pride. He felt proud of his people and his home city. Soon the council would learn the truth about Earth. Soon they would understand that they had been very, very wrong about humans. The ship docked with the Nexus Prime. Through the windows, Daeho could see human figures moving toward the airlock. They wore sleek spacesuits that looked more advanced than anything the council used. Everything was about to change. The transport ship descended through Earth's atmosphere toward what the council delegation expected to be a primitive capital city. Ambassador Nalseth looked out the window, ready to see the simple buildings and dirty streets they had observed from space. Instead, he saw Sol stretching out below them like a jewel. The city was beautiful in ways he had never imagined. Tall spires reached into the clouds, connected by bridges of light. Gardens floated in the air between buildings. Everything was clean and bright and clearly very advanced. This is impossible, Mordan whispered, his crystal body chiming in distress. Our scans showed primitive cities. Stone and metal buildings, pollution, traffic. Captain Kim Sora, who was piloting their transport, smiled. We have learned to hide things very well. What you saw from space was what we wanted you to see. But why? Captain Veltar demanded. Why would you pretend to be primitive? Because we knew you were watching, Sora replied. We wanted to learn about you before you learned about us. It seemed safer that way. The transport landed at what was clearly a government building. It was enormous and beautiful, made of materials that seemed to shift color in the sunlight. Humans waited to greet them, wearing clothes that looked simple but were clearly made from advanced fabrics. A woman stepped forward as they left the transport. She was middle-aged with graying hair and kind eyes, but she carried herself with the confidence of someone used to great responsibility. Welcome to Earth, she said in perfect council standard. I am President Lee Yonsu of the Terran Federation. We are honored by your visit. Nalseth tried to take control of the situation. I am Ambassador Nalseth of the Galactic Council. We have come to evaluate your species for possible membership in our organization. President Lee smiled. I am afraid there has been a misunderstanding, Ambassador. We did not invite you here to apply for membership. We invited you here to establish relations between our two governments. Two governments? The Terran Federation and the Galactic Council. We hope we can work together as equals. That word again. Equals. Nalseth was beginning to hate it. President Lee led them into the government building. The inside was even more impressive than the outside. The walls seemed to be made of living light. Art from hundreds of worlds decorated the halls, and everywhere they looked, they saw technology that should not exist. President Lee, Veltar said as they walked, our scans of Earth showed a much different world. Wars, pollution, primitive technology. Was all of that false? Not false, Lee replied. Earth does have some areas where humans live in traditional ways. Some people prefer the old lifestyles, but most of our population lives on other worlds now, or in the advanced cities that we keep hidden. Hidden how? We have developed very good cloaking technology. We can make things invisible to most scanning methods. They entered a large room where other humans waited. President Lee introduced them one by one. General Choi Min-ho, head of Human Defense Forces. Dr. Han Ji-won, chief science advisor. Admiral Park Hyun-woo, who had sent Captain Kim to meet them. Dr. Daeho was also there, but now he wore different clothes and stood with confidence instead of sitting quietly in corners. Dr. Daeho? Veltar said, confused. What are you doing here? I am sorry for the deception, Captain, Daeho replied. I was not just a scientist studying with the Council. I was an observer, sent to learn about your civilization while you studied ours. You were spying on us? We were learning about each other, President Lee said gently. Dr. Daeho's reports helped us understand that your people are not evil, just set in your ways. Admiral Park stepped forward. He was a large man with gray hair and scars on his hands that spoke of long military service. We wanted to make sure you could be reasoned with before we revealed ourselves. And if we could not be reasoned with? Nalseth asked. Then we would have continued to hide until you learned better manners, General Choi said with a slight smile. Dr. Han Ji-won, a small woman with bright eyes, approached them carrying a small device. Ambassador Nalseth, we have prepared some gifts for the Council. Technology that we hope will help our two civilizations understand each other better. She handed him the device. It was small and warm and seemed to pulse with inner light. What is it? He asked. Complete technical specifications for dimensional phase manipulation, she said casually. The mathematics are quite elegant, actually. It allows matter to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Nalseth nearly dropped the device. Dimensional phase manipulation was theoretical technology that Council scientists had been trying to develop for centuries. You are giving this to us? He whispered. Of course. It is what friends do, Dr. Han continued. We also have the specifications for matter-energy conversion, biological immortality treatments, and instantaneous communication across any distance. These are fairly basic technologies in human space. Basic? Morden's crystals were ringing like alarm bells. Undergraduate level, really. Human students learn these principles in their first year of advanced studies. President Lee gestured toward a wall that suddenly became transparent, showing the city outside. Would you like to see more of Earth? I think you might find it interesting. They traveled through the city in a vehicle that floated silently above the ground. General Choi pointed out various features as they went. Those buildings that look like simple apartment blocks? Each one houses about 50,000 people in comfortable luxury. The power comes from matter conversion, so there is no pollution. Those parks you see everywhere, they help maintain the atmosphere. We can control weather, temperature, and air quality for the entire planet. The transport tubes you see connecting the buildings, people can travel anywhere on Earth in less than an hour. As they traveled, the Council delegation saw more and more impossible things. Humans working with machines that seemed to think for themselves, children playing with toys that defied physics, art that moved and changed and told stories. How many people live on Earth? Veltar asked. About 500 million, General Choi replied. Most humans prefer the newer worlds. They have more space and fewer rules. But our scans showed 7 billion people. Those were holographic projections. We wanted you to think Earth was crowded and struggling. It seemed more primitive that way. They visited what looked like a simple military base, but when they went inside they found technology that made Council weapons look like toys from ancient times. These are our basic defensive systems, General Choi explained, showing them weapons that could destroy entire fleets without visible energy beams or explosions. Every human world has similar protection. Every world. Of course. We have learned that the galaxy can be dangerous. We prefer to be prepared. They saw manufacturing facilities that could create anything needed just by rearranging atoms, medical centers where humans were healed of injuries that would be fatal to any other species, Schools where human children learn to manipulate space and time as easily as the council species learned basic mathematics. How long have you been this advanced? Nalseth asked weakly. Human technology has been developing very quickly for about 2 centuries, President Lee replied. We seem to be naturally good at solving problems. But this is impossible. Civilizations take thousands of years to develop such capabilities. Dr. Han Ji-won looked thoughtful. Perhaps other species develop more slowly because they are comfortable with what they already know. Humans are never satisfied. We always want to understand more, do more, be more. As the day continued, the council delegation began to understand the horrible truth. Humans were not primitive. They were not struggling. They were not in need of council guidance. Humans were more advanced than the council in almost every way, and they had been hiding it perfectly for decades. President Lee, Veltar said as they returned to the government building, why are you showing us this? You could have stayed hidden forever. Because hiding is not the same as living, she replied. We want to be part of the galaxy. We want to meet other species and learn from them and share what we have learned. Even though you are more advanced than us, especially because we are more advanced. With great power comes great responsibility. We want to use our abilities to help others, not to conquer them. That evening, as they prepared to return to their ship, Nalseth asked the question that had been bothering him all day. President Lee, how many other species are there like you? How many civilizations have been hiding from the council? She smiled sadly. More than you might think, Ambassador. The galaxy is full of intelligent life, but most of it has learned to hide from those who think they know better than everyone else. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Captain Kim So-ra stepped onto the bridge of the Nexus Prime. She was tall for a human with short black hair and calm dark eyes. Behind her came 2 other humans in the same sleek spacesuits. Captain Veltar stared at her. The humans looked nothing like he expected. They moved with confidence. Their equipment looked clean and advanced. Most importantly, they did not seem afraid. Greetings, Kim So-ra said in perfect council standard language. I am Captain Kim So-ra of the Terran vessel Soul's Pride. Thank you for accepting our request to meet. You speak our language, Veltar said, surprised. Of course, So-ra replied. We have been monitoring council communications for some time. We learned your languages years ago. Ambassador Nalseth stepped forward. He was used to first contact situations. Primitive species were always excited and grateful to meet the council. They begged to be allowed to join. They offered gifts and asked for protection. I am Ambassador Nalseth of the Galactic Council, he said in his most important voice. We welcome you to the galaxy, young species. We know this must be very overwhelming for you. So-ra looked at him with what might have been amusement. Thank you, Ambassador. But this is not overwhelming at all. We have been expecting this meeting. Expecting it. Yes, we knew you were watching our world. We have been watching you as well. The bridge became very quiet. Morden's crystal body made nervous ringing sounds. You have been watching us? For about 50 years now, So-ra said casually. We noticed your survey ships when we developed better sensors. We decided it would be interesting to meet you properly. Veltar felt confused. This was not how first contact was supposed to work. But your planet, our scans show you are still primitive. Nuclear weapons, simple rockets, constant wars. Oh, you mean Earth, So-ra nodded. Yes, we keep Earth looking traditional for historical reasons. Many humans prefer the old ways of life there. Traditional? Nalseth asked. Earth is our home world, Ambassador, but it is not our only world. The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Dr. Deho watched the alien faces around him. He could see their confusion turning to worry. What do you mean, not your only world? Veltar asked slowly. The Terran Federation currently includes 237 worlds, So-ra explained. Earth is special to us because it is where we began. But most humans live on other planets now. 237 worlds? Morden whispered. Yes. We have been expanding for about a century. We prefer planets that are not already occupied, of course. We would never take someone else's home. Nalseth tried to regain control of the situation. Young Captain, I think you may be confused about the size of your civilization. Our scans show only one human world. Your scans only looked at Earth, So-ra said gently. We did not want to alarm you by showing our full presence in the galaxy. We thought it would be better to meet officially first. You hid your civilization from us? We made Earth look the way we thought you expected it to look. We wanted you to be comfortable when you finally decided to make contact. The pilot suddenly called out from his station. Sir, I am detecting multiple ships approaching our position. How many ships? Veltar demanded. I count 20. No, 30. No, sir, I count over 100 ships approaching from different directions. On the main screen, dots of light began to appear. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Each dot was a ship. Human ships. Ships that moved faster than light as if it was easy. Please do not be alarmed, Sora said. Those are escort vessels from the Terran Navy. Admiral Park Hyunwoo wanted to make sure this meeting went well. Admiral? Nalseth's voice was getting higher. You have a navy? Of course. How else would we protect our shipping lanes? As they watched, the human ships arranged themselves in perfect formations around the Nexus Prime. They did not threaten or point weapons, but their presence was impossible to ignore. Captain Kim, Veltar said carefully, what exactly is the purpose of this meeting? Admiral Park sent me to invite the Galactic Council to Earth for formal diplomatic talks. We would like to establish proper relations between our governments. Your governments? The Terran Federation and the Galactic Council. We think it is time we got to know each other better. Daeho watched Ambassador Nalseth try to process this information. The Council had rules for first contact. They were the advanced civilization. They were supposed to be in charge. New species were supposed to be grateful and obedient. Captain, Nalseth said, I think there has been some misunderstanding. The Galactic Council oversees all spacefaring civilizations. New species must apply to join. They must prove they are ready for galactic society. That sounds like an interesting system, Sora replied. But the Terran Federation is not applying to join anything. We are simply offering to establish diplomatic relations between equals. Equals? The word came out like a curse, yes. We assume you are a peaceful civilization just as we are. We hope we can be friends. The communications officer suddenly spoke up. Sir, I am receiving reports from our deep space monitors. They are detecting human ships throughout this sector of the galaxy. How many ships? Veltar asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. Thousands, sir. Answer. They are detecting signs of human colonies on planets we thought were uninhabited. Sora nodded. Yes, we have been quite busy. Humans like to explore and build new homes. We have settlements in most of the nearby star systems. But our surveys showed those systems were empty. We are very good at not being seen when we do not want to be seen, Sora said with a small smile. Nalseth was becoming more upset. This is impossible. Advanced civilizations do not hide from the Council. We would have detected you. Ambassador, Sora said gently, perhaps your detection methods need some improvement. We have been right here the whole time. The bridge was silent except for the soft beeping of instruments and Mordan's nervous crystal chimes. Everyone was trying to understand what this meant. Captain Kim, Veltar said finally, you mentioned technology that we do not recognize. How long have you been able to travel faster than light? Humans developed our first faster-than-light drive about 80 years ago. We have made many improvements since then. 80 years? Mordan could not believe it. But that is impossible. It took the Council species thousands of years to develop such technology. Every species develops differently, Sora said. Humans are good at solving problems quickly when we need to. What other technologies do you have? Veltar asked. Oh, many things. We have learned to manipulate space and time in ways that make travel very easy. We have developed matter converters that can create anything we need. We have medical technology that allows humans to live for centuries. We have— Wait, Nalseth interrupted. You said centuries? How old are you, Captain? I am 68 years old, Ambassador. Still quite young by human standards now. The aliens looked at each other in growing alarm. Long lifespans were a sign of very advanced civilization. The ability to extend life meant understanding biology and technology at levels most species never reached. Captain, Veltar said slowly, would it be possible for a small delegation from the Council to visit your Earth? For these diplomatic talks? Of course. Admiral Park is expecting you. We have prepared comfortable quarters for your species. We studied your biology to make sure you would be safe and comfortable. You studied our biology? Naturally. We wanted to be good hosts. As the human ships maintained their perfect formations around them, the crew of the Nexus Prime began to realize that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy was wrong. This was not first contact with a primitive species. This was first contact with a civilization that might be more advanced than their own, and that civilization had been watching them all along. Elder statesman Kang Tae-hyun looked very old, but his eyes were young and bright with intelligence. He stood in the great hall of the space station that had appeared around the council homeworld like a metal moon. The station was so large that small ships could fly between its support structures. Counselor Thex Nara Prime sat across from him, no longer looking like the supreme ruler of the galaxy. The ancient being seemed smaller now, older, confused by how quickly his world had changed. "You are 800 years old," Thex Nara said. It was not a question. 837 to be exact, Kang replied with a gentle smile. "I have lived long enough to see many changes. But humans are supposed to have short lives. Barely 100 years. We did once, but we learned to fix that problem about 3 centuries ago. Now humans can live as long as we choose." Ambassador Lim Hye-jin entered the Great Hall. She was young, maybe 50 years old, but she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had negotiated with many different species. Behind her came beings that the council had never seen before. "Counselor Thex Nara," she said formally, "allow me to introduce some friends." The first being looked like a giant tree that could walk and talk. Its voice sounded like wind through leaves. "I am Speaker Root Sings Deep of the Forest Collective. The council surveyed our world 4,000 years ago. They decided we were too primitive because we did not build metal cities." The second being was made of what looked like living crystal, but not like Morden's people. This being shimmered. "With inner light, I am Harmony of Facets, from the crystal mines. The council declared our world uninhabitable, because we do not need atmospheres like other species." More beings entered. Some looked like clouds of gas held together by energy fields. Others seemed to be made of pure mathematics given form. Each one introduced themselves as representatives of civilizations the council thought were extinct. "Too primitive, or impossible. I do not understand," Thex Nara said weakly. Elder King sat down across from the ancient ruler. "Counselor, for 10,000 years your people have surveyed the galaxy. You have found many forms of life, but you have only made contact with species that think and act like you do. We made contact with species that were ready for galactic civilization." "No," Kang said gently. "You made contact with species that wanted to join your empire. Species that were willing to accept that you knew better than they did." Speaker Root Sings Deep's leaves rustled with what might have been laughter. "My people have been watching yours for 4 millennia. We found you amusing." "Amusing? You assumed that intelligence must create cities like yours. You never considered that a forest might be more intelligent than any city." Harmony of Facets sang in a voice like crystal bells. "My people exist across 17 dimensions. We tried to communicate with your survey teams, but you could not perceive most of our existence, so you declared our worlds empty." Ambassador Lim gestured to the gathering beings. "Counselor, we would like to introduce you to the real galactic community, the network of civilizations that has existed alongside the council for thousands of years. Network, species that learned to hide from your surveys, civilizations that found each other and began working together, beings who decided that cooperation was better than conquest." One of the cloud beings spoke in a voice like distant thunder. "We call it the Quiet Alliance. We have been sharing knowledge and helping each other grow for 3,000 years. "But that is impossible," Thex Nara protested. "We would have detected such a large organization." "Only if we wanted you to," Kang said. "We learned very early that the council preferred to find primitive species they could control. So we gave you what you expected to see. Every council survey, every military patrol, every expedition has been carefully managed," Lim explained. "When you looked for us, we showed you empty space or primitive worlds. When you threatened us, we disappeared. When you tried to conquer us, we were not there to be conquered." Thex Nara looked around the great hall at dozens of beings from species he had never imagined could exist. "How many civilizations are in this Quiet Alliance?" "Currently, about 6,000 member species," Kang replied casually. 6,000? "The galaxy is very large, Counselor, and very old. Intelligence has evolved in many different ways in many different places. Most of it learned to avoid your attention." Speaker Root Sings Deep moved closer to the council leader. "Your people are not evil, Ancient One. You are simply limited. You think there is only one way to be intelligent, only one way to build civilization. Only one way to explore the stars. We are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, Thexnara said, but his voice lacked conviction. You were the most advanced civilization that chose to reveal itself. Harmony of facets corrected. There is a difference. Ambassador Lim activated a holographic display that filled the center of the Great Hall. It showed the galaxy as the Council knew it, the Council worlds in bright blue, the species they controlled in green, and vast areas of empty space in black. Then the display changed. The empty spaces filled with light as thousands of hidden civilizations became visible. Trade routes appeared connecting distant species. Science stations and research facilities and colonies showed up in supposedly barren systems. This is the real galaxy, Lim said. This is what has existed all around you while you thought you ruled everything. Thexnara stared at the display. The Council territories were just small islands in a vast ocean of hidden civilizations. Why did you hide from us? Because early contact with the Council taught us what happened to species that revealed themselves. The cloud being rumbled. They were conquered or controlled or forced to change their ways to match Council expectations. We protect species that want to live their own way, Kang added. Some civilizations prefer to remain primitive by Council standards. Others advance in directions the Council would not understand. All deserve to exist as they choose. What happens now? Thexnara asked. Lim smiled. Now you have a choice, Counselor. The Council can continue as it always has. You can keep surveying for primitive species and building your empire of controlled worlds. Or you can learn to be part of the real galactic community. You can abandon the idea that your way is the only way. You can join us in exploring what is possible when thousands of different kinds of intelligence work together. Elder Kang stood up slowly. Despite his great age, he moved with dignity and strength. Counselor Thexnara, your people have great wisdom and great knowledge, but you have been alone for so long that you forgot how to learn from others. We would welcome the Council species as equals in the Quiet Alliance. Speaker Root Singh's Deep added, but only as equals, not as rulers. Thexnara looked around the Great Hall one more time. He saw beings that defied everything he thought he knew about life and intelligence. He saw technologies that made Council science look simple. He saw a galaxy full of wonders that had been hidden from him by his own assumptions. What about our colonies? Our controlled species? Any species that wants to remain under Council protection may do so, Lim assured him. Any that want independence will be helped to achieve it. Any that want to join the Alliance will be welcomed. And if we refuse? If the Council chooses to continue as before? Kang's expression was sad but firm. Then the galaxy will continue without you. The Alliance will continue to grow and explore and learn. The Council will be left behind, ruling over an ever-shrinking empire while the rest of the galaxy moves forward. You would not destroy us? Counselor, Harmony of Facets sang, violence is what primitive species use when they cannot think of better solutions. We are not primitive. Thexnara Prime closed his eyes and thought about 3,000 years of ruling the galaxy. 3,000 years of believing he knew better than everyone else. 3,000 years of being wrong. When he opened his eyes again, he looked different. Smaller perhaps, but also somehow more real. The Council would like to learn about this alliance, he said quietly. Kang smiled. Then welcome to the real galaxy, Counselor. It is much larger and stranger and more wonderful than you ever imagined. As beings from across the galaxy gathered to welcome the Council to the community they had never known existed, Dr. Deho stood by a window looking out at Earth. The planet looked the same as always, blue and green and beautiful. But now he could see the truth hidden beneath its deceptive simplicity. President Li Yansu joined him at the window. Do you think they will truly change? She asked. Some will, Deho replied. Change is hard for any species. But the Council people are not evil. They were just young. Young? They are thousands of years old. Age is not the same as wisdom, Deho said. They spent so long being the most advanced species they knew that they stopped growing. Now they have a chance to grow again. Far below them, Earth continued its ancient rotation, but now it was no longer hiding. Now it was part of something greater, a galaxy full of intelligent life working together to discover what was possible when different kinds of minds shared their knowledge and dreams. The age of the Council's lonely supremacy was over. The age of the Alliance, diverse, curious, and endlessly creative, had begun. Counselor Thexnara Prime was very old. even by Council standards. He had lived for 3,000 years and ruled the Council for half that time. In all those years, no species had ever challenged Council authority. No civilization had ever claimed to be equal to the Council. He sat in his massive chamber on the Council homeworld, reading the reports from Earth with growing anger. The walls around him were covered with symbols of Council victories. Worlds conquered, species made to bow, civilizations brought under Council control. "This cannot be allowed," he said to his advisors. His voice was deep and cold, like winter wind through empty mountains. "Sir," said his military advisor, "a being with 4 arms and skin like metal, perhaps we should learn more about these humans before we act." "Learn?" Thexnara's eyes glowed with ancient fury. "I have learned enough. These creatures dare to call themselves our equals. They mock Council authority by pretending to be primitive. But sir, their technology appears to be very advanced. Perhaps more advanced than ours." "Impossible." The ancient ruler slammed his hand on his chair. "The Council has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We are the supreme civilization. These upstart mammals cannot be allowed to think otherwise." Dr. Bay and Young sat in her office in the Terran Intelligence Building on New Sol, one of humanity's newest colony worlds. She watched the Council communications with growing concern. Her job was to monitor alien civilizations and predict their actions. Right now, she did not like what she was predicting. "Director," she called to her superior on the intercom, "we have a problem." Director Nam Kyung-ho entered her office. He was a thin man with worried eyes who had been tracking alien civilizations for 20 years. "What is it, Dr. Bay?" "The Council is mobilizing their fleet." "All of it? How big is all of it?" 15,000 ships, sir, including their biggest dreadnoughts. They are gathering near the edge of our space. Director Nam sat down heavily. "They mean to attack us." "Yes, sir. The communications we have intercepted suggest they see us as a threat to their authority." "Have you informed Earth?" "Admiral Park is already aware. He says the military has been expecting this." "Expecting it?" "Sir, the Terran Defense Forces have been preparing for a possible Council attack for 30 years, ever since we first detected their ships watching Earth. On the bridge of the Council dreadnought Eternal Victory, Admiral Korthax prepared for the greatest battle of his career. The ship was 5 kilometers long and carried weapons that could crack planets. Behind him followed the entire Council fleet, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we are approaching the human space boundary." "Any sign of their fleet?" "No, sir. Our sensors detect no human ships in the area." Admiral Korthax smiled. "They are probably hiding on their worlds, hoping we will show mercy." But Captain Osungmin was not hiding. He stood on the bridge of the Terran vessel Rising Phoenix, watching the Council fleet approach. His ship was small compared to the Council dreadnoughts, but it carried technology the Council had never imagined. "Captain," his weapons officer said, "the Council fleet is within range." "How many ships?" 15,000, sir. "Standard Council configuration. They are advancing in battle formation." Oh Sungmin nodded. "Send a message to Admiral Park. Tell him the Council has made their choice. Begin Operation Mirror." Throughout human space, ships began to appear. Not the few hundred that the Council had seen before, but thousands. Tens of thousands. Ship after ship materialized from dimensional phase space where they had been waiting. On the Eternal Victory, alarms began ringing. "Sir," the tactical officer screamed. "Massive fleet approaching. Multiple directions." "How many ships?" Admiral Korthax demanded. I count over 50,000 vessels." 50,000. "That is impossible." But it was not impossible. It was just human preparation. For decades, the Terran Defense Forces had been building ships and training crews for exactly this moment. They had hidden entire fleets in dimensional space, waiting for the day the Council finally showed their true nature. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving a message from the human fleet. Put it on screen." A human appeared on the main viewer. He wore the uniform of a Terran admiral and looked calm despite commanding the largest fleet in galactic history. "I am Admiral Park Hyun-woo of the Terran Defense Forces," he said. "Council fleet, you are in violation of Terran space. Turn around immediately and return to your own territory." Admiral Korthax activated his own communicator. "I am Admiral Korthax of the Galactic Council. You will surrender immediately or face the consequences." "Admiral," Park replied with what might have been pity. You are outnumbered 3-1 by ships with superior technology. Your weapons cannot penetrate our defenses. Your armor cannot stop our weapons. Turn around now and no one needs to die. We do not surrender to primitives. Korthak screamed. All ships attack! The Council fleet opened fire. 15,000 ships launched their most powerful weapons at the human vessels. Energy beams that could melt mountains. Missiles that could destroy cities. Plasma bolts that burned hotter than stars. Every shot missed. The human ships simply were not there when the weapons arrived. They had shifted into dimensional phase space for just long enough to avoid the attack, then shifted back to their original positions. Impossible, Admiral Korthax whispered. Your turn is over, Admiral Park said sadly. Now it is ours. The human fleet fired once. Just once, but their weapons did not destroy the Council ships. Instead, they did something much more embarrassing. They shut them down. Every system on every Council vessel simply stopped working. Engines died. Weapons powered down. Life support switched to emergency backup. The entire Council fleet was left floating helplessly in space. What did you do to us? Korthax demanded over emergency communications. We used quantum phase disruptors to temporarily disable your technology, Captain Oh Sung-min explained over the radio. Your ships are not damaged. Your crews are safe. You are just temporarily unable to cause trouble. This is impossible. Our ships are protected against all known weapons. Yes, but you did not know about quantum phase disruptors because we only invented them last week. Admiral Park's voice came over the communication system, speaking to all the disabled Council ships. Council fleet, you are now our prisoners. Do not be afraid. We will not hurt you. We will repair your ships and send you home safely. Why? Admiral Korthax asked, confused. Because that is what civilized people do, Park replied. We do not kill our enemies. We try to help them understand why they were wrong. Over the next few hours, human rescue ships began arriving at each Council vessel. They brought spare parts and technical help. They brought medical aid for injured crew members. They brought food and water and even entertainment to keep the prisoners comfortable. Dr. Bae In-young watched the operation from her command center. The Council fleet was being treated better than most military forces treated their own wounded. Director, she said to Nam Kyung-ho, I am getting reports from our intelligence agents throughout Council space. What kind of reports? Similar fleets are being assembled by every Council world. They are planning a massive coordinated attack on all human colonies. Director Nam nodded grimly. Then we move to Phase 2. Phase 2? Dr. Bae, for 30 years we have been preparing for this exact situation. We knew the Council would react with violence when they learned the truth. We have been ready. Ready for what? To show them that attacking humanity is not just futile. It is completely pointless. Throughout Council space, impossible things began to happen. On the Council homeworld, massive ships appeared in orbit without warning. They had not traveled through space. They had simply materialized out of nothing. On every Council military world, human vessels surrounded the defense installations. The locals had not seen them coming because the ships had been invisible until they chose to reveal themselves. On every Council colony, messages appeared on every communication system at once. The Terran Federation offers protection to all beings who wish to live in peace. We do not seek to conquer. We seek only to defend ourselves and others from those who would use violence to solve problems. Counselor Thexanara Prime stood in his chamber and stared out the window at the human ships that now filled his sky. They were beautiful and terrible and completely beyond his understanding. Sir, his military advisor said quietly, we have received reports from all our fleets. They have all been disabled. Not destroyed, disabled. All of them? Yes, sir. And, sir? The humans are sending medical aid and supplies to help our crews. Thexanara Prime felt something he had not experienced in 3,000 years. He felt small. For the first time in his very long life, he understood that he was not the most powerful being in the galaxy, and the beings who were more powerful than him were showing mercy.